So, the Dead Space remake is right around the corner, just days away, and I'm excited.
I'm so excited!
So excited in fact that I decided to go back and check out the original. It's been a while since I've beaten it, and one thing I realized while playing this game again was the first chapter is amazing. And not only that, it also held up pretty well. Mostly. Not everything ages gracefully, okay? For the most part, the core game is aged pretty well, but I don't want to sit here all day and talk about the entire game, even though I could. I instead want to take a deeper look at one segment in particular. Just this one part. And yeah, it's the first chapter. Alright, so let's quickly go through this. We load up the game, a little FaceTime with the girlfriend, and we're introduced to our main character.
Isaac.
You're an engineer, on your way to the USG Ishimura, mostly because, well, your girlfriend's aboard the ship, and we're kind of the reason she's there. We arrive, things go bad,
What the hell?
ship go boom, and voila, we get a cool HUD.
Hey, we're done.
Cue walking time. This is the part where things get cool. Starting off, we're surrounded by our crew, giving you that slight sense of security.
Isaac, log in and see what you can find.
You go over here to this little screen, check on the ship, and immediately we see a lot of red. Like a lot of red. And set up the main conflict of the game, fixing the ship. Right after checking the ship's damage, we're immediately isolated. So let's run. Hit a couple of corners, dodge some scary looking creatures, so we hit what the game introduces. Elevators. Kinda like our safe room from Resident Evil. So in a handful of minutes we go from being surrounded with people to being alone, setting up a few game mechanics in the overarching story in a subtle kind of way. Let's keep going. After chilling off in the elevator, we'll find ourselves a tool, and also a cool little note. Cut off their limbs. Neat! It's not your standard zombie fare of use of melee weapons or anything like that, no. Dismemberment is the key in this game. The game also starts showing off its strength immediately with its atmosphere. Industrial hallways, flickering lights, lots of use of shadows, and a futuristic setting makes it all very creepy. Chapter 1 also likes to do a little foreshadowing early, showing off a certain someone's influence kicking in. Speaking of atmosphere, Chapter 1 lets it marinate for a little. We don't have our first real enemy encounter until about 13 minutes into the game. Unless you hit this corner and wake this fellow up early. Jumping back into the plot, we get our main objective, fixing the tram. Which brings us to the first combat arena of the game. There's open space, a bunch of vents, and a cute little puzzle, showing off this beauty. Right off the bat in Chapter 1, we get two of the most OP weapons in Dead Space 1, some would say. The Plasma Cutter and Stasis. You could go through the whole game with these items only, mainly the Plasma Cutter, and be mostly fine. But Stasis is really good too. After solving the puzzle like the smart people we are, the room goes into lockdown, forcing us into a little combat scenario. So one pops out of the vent, and we're moving on. Leaving that room gives us a little introduction of a new enemy type, Leapers. And they do it in a style reminiscent of RE2's Liquor Scene. While we're on the topic of enemies, the way enemies are used here are pretty cool. So in most horror games, you can usually hear, see, or get like an indicator that there's an enemy ahead of the room, i.e. Silent Hill, Resident Evil. The enemies pop out of vents from this game, creating a little jump scare every single time you turn the corner. Now we're heading to the second big area of this chapter. We need a key to access the storage room, and that lets us get another key item.
The door to the storage room is locked. There should be a key somewhere in the maintenance bay.
This room is bigger than the last, more vents, more ways to have enemies come out, more napping people. With all that said, we head over to the elevator, taking it up, leading us to the first key we need. And from the way the key's positioned, we know there's a scare coming in here. It's just too easy. Now after picking up this key, we'll move on to the storage room. After entering the storage room, we'll be introduced to the bench, and also the part we need. With the bench, we get to upgrade our weapons, letting us do more damage, more effects on our stasis, more health, you name it. After that pit stop, it's back to where Hammond and Kendra are. This room reinforces the idea of isolation, a barrier between you and the crew you came with. Also, the conflict between Hammond and Kendra is starting to brew.
Your lack of confidence in me is to be noted, Miss Daniels. But I have a mission to complete, and that's exactly what I am going to do, with or without you. Do we understand each other?
Just get us out of here alive.
Now that we have all that set up, it's time to finish it. We got our final backtrack of the chapter. Here we're going through right where we came from, or ran from in this case. Only this time we have the tools to deal with the situation. No longer are we scared. Making way, we head to the ship we came on, finally reaching it, only to see, well, It's not gonna work. We try to fix this little ship. Things go bad, ship go boom. We're back to square one. And not only that, we got a few baddies coming our way. So after dealing with them swiftly, we find out that Kendra is sad
It's the only way off the ship.
and Hammond is mad.
Get to the medical deck and find that rig as fast as you can.
Making our way to the tram they sent back to us. We put together a plan to get off the ship, which involves going to medical next. At the very end of the chapter, we get introduced to one more thing. Stores. They look like an item box from Resident Evil. And also like a store. So after all is said and done, the first chapter tells you you're constantly isolated, you'll be running all over the ship trying to fix it, your crewmates have beef, you still have no idea where your girlfriend is, you're never safe unless you're in an elevator, and you're Isaac Clarke, engineer. I hope you enjoyed this quick little rundown on why I think chapter 1 is perfect. And if you have, hit subscribe, like, and I'll be back with more. And remember, when the Dead Space remake hits, make us whole.
Isaac, make us whole again.